everybody's talking about that weird, strange-looking Tesla car that was recently spotted at Warner Brothers Studios in Los Angeles. As many of you no doubt will already know, Tesla is planning their unveiling of their Robotaxi, or Cybercab as it is now sometimes called, on October 10th. And you probably will also have seen many renderings or design sketches of the Robotaxi from Walter Isaacson's Elon Musk biography or from renderings done by amazing graphics illustrators. But this weird yellow thing here doesn't look anything like the design sketches. In fact, it looks super bizarre and many people make fun of that strange design already. But here are some things that many people seemed to have missed about that strange looking yellow car. Yesterday, a lot of discussion was going on X about that heavily camouflaged car seen at Warner Brothers ahead of Tesla's unveiling of the Cybercab in a few weeks. And indeed, it doesn't look anything like the previous renderings would have made us believe. It looks very much un-cyber-esque. If you just take the outlines of the shape itself, this looks more like a smaller version of a Model Y, with some strange attachments in the rear end of the car. However, we have to be really careful here because this is a test mule. It is, after all, very heavily camouflaged and they probably use fake body panels all over the car. Therefore, we cannot trust the outline and general shape of the car that we see here. Some people even suggested that the boxy thing in the back is intended as a surprisingly large luggage space. After all, we're talking about a robotaxi here, right? And taxis need space for luggage. I think the purpose of that box thing in the back is to mask how the rear end of the car really looks. In reality, the rear end is probably very sloped, very much tapered towards the end, so as to increase aerodynamic efficiency. Then other people were surprised by the apparent presence of a LiDAR system on the roof. Now, will Tesla suddenly switch to LiDAR? Will Tesla's vision-only system not work and Tesla will be forced to employ LiDAR systems in the future? Well, I think this has to do with regulatory requirements. It could be that in order to allow for full autonomous self-driving, regulators in many US states will in fact require the presence of a LiDAR system. So this could be more out of necessity than out of technical requirement per se. But yes, Tesla might find out the inconvenient truth that regulation might require redundant systems and that vision only might not be allowed with a fully self-driving vehicle. But that is just speculation on my part, and it might be that Tesla is just trolling us here with this apparent LiDAR system. But what I found more interesting was the talk about these strangely large rear wheels. Now, why would the rear wheels be larger than the front wheels? Well, here is what most people apparently missed, namely that those wheels aren't real. Okay, they don't really exist. And no, not because we live in a simulation, which by the way I don't believe we do, but because I think that those wheels are dummy wheels. The purpose of those wheels could be to mask the real rear wheels, which could in fact be, as we have seen in previous design sketches or renderings and the revelation from the pictures in Elon Musk's biography. It could be a single large wheel in the back or two wheels spaced nearer towards the center axis. Thus, in my opinion, we shouldn't trust the rear wheels on this yellow test mule. In fact, we also shouldn't probably trust the general outline on the front or on the roofline. That whole car might be in fact just a technology tester, wherein the chassis is not yet final and uses parts from other cars, for instance the Model 3 or Model Y, and that the final outline will be quite different. But if this is not the case and the final shape is not different, then even so, I think that the outline will still be quite different from what that thing here wants to make us believe. A user on X called Uvi made a sketch which I think comes really quite close to how the final product will look. It is a vehicle that looks very cyber-esque, and the front is much shorter than the front of the yellow mule. So in that case, they would have added some body panels and shapes to mask the true front. And the rear wheels, as we can see here in that version, are covered as well. So this would be very much in line with design sketches that we have seen until now. This could be quite close to what will be unveiled in a few weeks. Now here is the more conservative outline I drew with my very limited paint skills. I think that yes, the vehicle will be quite futuristic, but probably not Cybertruck levels of futurism, because I strongly think that the same vehicle will serve as the basis for Tesla's $25,000 car, the famed Model 2, or however they will call it. So in order to have more mass market appeal, I could imagine that the Model 2 will not be as futuristic as the Cybertruck, but still moderately futuristic. And since that Model 2 will be based probably one-to-one on the Cybercab, I also can imagine that the Cybercab will not be ultra futuristic as some people imagine right now. As for the battery size and technical stats of that thing, we basically know nothing at this moment. But since it will be used in city environments, we can assume a range of 300 miles tops, since Tesla will certainly want to keep profit margins high and not build in batteries with a too high capacity. Min-maxing is Tesla's principle, we shouldn't forget this, because Tesla is an aggressively scaling company, and so they want to use as little parts as possible and generate as much revenue as possible. So increasing the profit margin will be key with this vehicle. And since the battery is still an expensive component of the car, I wouldn't even be surprised if Tesla would be okay with a 250-mile range, especially considering that, as we said, the $25,000 car will most likely be exactly the Robotaxi, but with an added steering wheel. They can just add the steering wheel because the thing will probably employ a steer-by-wire mechanism like the Cybertruck. And so it will be extremely easy to scale this thing by just adding a steering wheel to the Robotaxi and to remove the LiDAR, if that here really is a LiDAR, and voila, you have your Model 2 $25,000 car. So these are my current thoughts on that strange-looking yellow Tesla test mule. And also, we shouldn't have extremely high expectations for how the Cybercab is going to look. Many people imagine that it will be insanely ultra-futuristic like the Cybertruck, but I think that the real thing will maybe not be quite as futuristic as many people think. Tesla has to walk the fine line here between utility, meaning it must offer enough space for two people with luggage. Then it must look cool and somewhat futuristic, but not too futuristic, because we wouldn't want to alienate too many people, since this will serve as the basis for the mass market $25,000 car. And then on top, it should also be manufactured as cheaply as possible. Combining all these things, I think that most people currently have extremely overblown expectations for what the Cybercab will look when it is going to be unveiled on October 10th. I wouldn't even be surprised if we see the Tesla stock sell off after the reveal as an immediate reaction. However, long term, these two products, the Robotaxi/Cybercab and the $25,000 car, will be, besides the Optimus robot, Tesla's most transformative products to date. If Tesla can build these products at scale with a high enough profit margin, then Tesla's path to become a $10 trillion company by 2030 is crystal clear before our eyes, and thus highly probable to happen. So I personally cannot wait for the reveal of the Robotaxi on October 10th. However, I caution people to keep somewhat moderate expectations. And also, we shouldn't trust that yellow thing here too much, because the final product, I think either way, will not look very similar to it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, since we will continue putting out lots of videos on fascinating technological developments. And please consider supporting us on Patreon or via YouTube membership, because that would allow us to make more and even better videos. Thank you so much for watching wherever you are. Have a nice day and see you next time.